Hello guys and welcome to TFT Worlds Day 2, game number 4. Enjoy.
More dog. Do you want to cast that bad more? Come on up here.
I mean,
No,
where
actually,
is
it's not
he?
your turn.
Where is he? All right, I see him. I see him. We're fighting later. Fight. Don't you wave at me. Don't you wave at me.
All right.
This is not a happy time.
One thing fast roll down to who gets to cast the last game.
Oh, I am going to lose that one. Oh, boy.
Well,
What's going on with Kurt Fuzzled? Have anyone been able to catch up with them?
well, I mean, with Fucker Fuzzled, you know, of course, he has the competitive history in other games, being TFT, getting to the world stage, bringing back the UK's representation after a very long time of having zero representation in the competition at all. He was, of course, amazing in the Western Last Chance qualifier, but this particular tournament, maybe has just been a step too far for him.
Yeah, we talk all the time about in TFT, it's all about like making the most of your chances and like being able to, get on this elite stage and perform with the highest level. And sometimes some players just don't have it in them because someone has to finish 32nd and 31st. And I feel like you just look at Kerfuzzle, he's a little deflated, but he can also still kind of continue to fight for pride. And remember, it's just his first appearance at the World Championship, and that is usually the motivator for a lot of other players.
And this as well is, in Kerfuzzle's own words, he agrees with you. He was saying, I can't believe I made it to the last chance qualifier. And then he made it here, and he's like, I can't believe I made it here. So, very aware that he is early on in his career as a pro player and, should be and is happy with how far he's come.
Well, let's get our first hero. We're seeing twos across the board for our players. We know these can be very powerful. We see Rising in Spell Force on the side for 9, who decides to take it. Looking around to see Unrelenting Force with VLCF in the bottom left-hand corner. And Matt's looking at the center left.
Yeah, baby, we got another Jinx reroll.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite compositions. I know you guys are thinking Anima Squad, not too fun, but Jinx helps out. She does so much damage early, gets your stacks rolling, and gives you plenty of CC.
Yeah, so in a 2-2-2 environment, we talked about at the beginning of the day was you want a lot of people to pick the same tier of units you want to roll. If you're picking a Jinx reroll, you want to make sure other 2 costs, and there's a handful of them. We have 2 Unrelenting Forces and a Channel Ferromancy. However, the other half of the lobby wants to play standard tempo, unless the Camille Hextech Retribution player wants to reroll Camille, which is unlikely from that spot. So I'm curious to see, how these rerolls will feed into each other, how the tempo of the lobby is going to shape, and also for the players who both took Unrelenting Force, is one going to balk and say, I'm just going to use this for tempo instead, and just play with 2-star revive while letting the other player hit?
Well, we have got some interesting developments in this lobby. Bintium, of course, Matt, with your favorite composition, managing to find a Spirit Shojin early on to actually hand out a loss to Setsuko, who, of course, has been notorious for coming in and dominating lobbies from the very beginning.
Across the board, we are seeing multiple Hextech Retributions as well. This is less of a concern than something like double Unrelenting Force because you have so much flexibility, especially with the presence of Renegade's Jhin in the meta.
Yeah, and Vidigal has been using Riftwalkers pretty successfully throughout the tournament. It's one of the compositions he's played the most, so I expect him to go into it. The exception would be if you want to play, say, the Camille reroll that we mentioned, but with things like Runen Slammed and 2 bows, Camille doesn't want bows. She wants a bunch of swords, right? She wants the admin that gives attack damage. She wants to have things like the Infinity Edge and the Bloodthirster. So bows usually don't mean you end up playing Camille. There's a couple of variations you could potentially play. There's a belief that maybe Hextech Retribution might actually not even be that bad if you want to play for like Warwick and LeBlanc, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm pretty sure he's going to try to find his way into that Riftwalker Jhin line.
Yeah, pretty solid setup for Vidigal. We'll keep the early success going. I think the healing coming in over time, very, very powerful in the early going, especially when these fights are running longer.
Yeah. I really like the use of some of these units. I think a lot of people think Nasus has to go in like Mascots or Anima Squad, but Nasus is just a really good item holder early game for AD in particular, so his bonk is able to do a lot of damage, and people just really underestimate that. And if his admin, for example, was also say like on kill heal, all of a sudden this Nasus might be a 1v4 machine in the early game. So I really like the way he's crafted his board so far.
I think a lot of players underrate that 1 cost, especially players below this caliber. Those 1 costs as item carriers can be incredibly strong up until that stage 3. So I like seeing this flexibility like you're mentioning for Vidigal.
Yeah, it's a Vi 2 with Unrelenting Force. No items, but that's going to be a hard unit to kill, especially if he's getting Lee Sin shielded as well. We'll see. Does he get another cast? Does not. And as a result, no units die here. Maybe the Blitzcrank.
I mean, that heal from before is working real magic to make sure any of these slow rounds do become very harsh losses. Vidigold sitting up the top with Bentham, the only undefeated players so far, as we can see from our inventories. As we get the lesser champion duplicators coming in, our players have been slamming the items for the most part.
So duplicators are a particularly interesting dynamic in 2-cost rerolls because you can choose to use it early to stabilize, or you can use it to greed to go for that big like spike roll down. And you might see with a hero augment, and some people have good spots, and a duplicator, some people get insane 3 stars at like 3-2 roll down. There's actually been some, it's not that uncommon. It might look like a crazy high roll, but because of things like this, someone even has an orange, a regular duplicator to exacerbate that, if I saw that correctly.
We do know that we have got some contested lobbies. Of course, we mentioned the 2 unrelenting Vi's in place as well. So it actually, absolutely getting the extra unit in could make all the difference. We check in with 9, who is going to be bringing out, of course, everyone's favorite laser core board. We couldn't do without them.
He's actually holding 7 ashes, so, you know, he's ahead of the curve. He's not like re-rolling ash because he would be at level 4, but I'm curious how committed he is. If he finds another ash, do you just rip the duplicate for ash 3?
Well, I've seen this happen before a lot. Obviously, the general consensus is you need to have laser focus in order to run it, but in terms of a tempo pickup, Ash 3 is incredibly strong because she functions very similarly to Warwick, getting out a lot of heavy attack speed with those laser drones behind her. So I think, honestly, if he wants to make it all the way to the late game and count on the 5 laser core cap, that's a great idea.
The awkward thing is, if you make Ash 3, it makes you feel like you want to put items on Ash, but then you find out you're in stage 5. You're like, I have items on Ash. Do I sell this Ash? Do I move? I have to hope that I get a magnetic
Pray for
remover?
Mordekaiser.
Well, to be fair, in 9's case, the items are on Yasuo right now, so it does have a little bit of flexibility to just...
The worst of both worlds.
Oh, yeah. Bob, come on. Give Yasuo a little bit of a break. He does his best.
When that situation comes, because I'm pretty sure 9's going to go for Ash 3 here, do you itemize it? In a lot of cases, it's like, well, if I can find a Thieves' Gloves, maybe the best scenario would be a glove comes off, puts that Thieves' Gloves on Yasuo. Because he already has an Edge of Night, that Thieves' Gloves will pop off, and he can put that on the Ash and maybe just have the random items be the power boost.
Yeah, I mean, well, Ash is oftentimes the last unit standing in the lobby, so, or in a particular round, so it's certainly pretty solid. Checking with Dr. O from Korea. Again, remember, we have 3 Korean players in the lobby, and that bench is looking fascinating.
Draven reroll?
Gonna do it. You're gonna do it.
So that's really interesting because we just haven't really seen much of Draven, and we don't really see much of Hacker these days. He sold all those units to make gold. I wasn't convinced. Right. He had a Shiv already slammed. It would be cool. I would love to see a little more variety in terms of the 2 costs, but I just would not advise that spot to go to Draven reroll.
Bintium and Setsuko keep the win streak. Says we will have the upgrade dropping in there.
Okay. He's going to get another Ash from the ore. It's going to be a triple 1 cost, and everyone's going to ping him.
I believe in it. I'm waiting for it.
Well, gentlemen, while we wait for the Ash 3 to arrive, I do notice that with the exception of Kerfuzzles and D-Man to a lesser extent, there is not a lot of gold in the inventories right now across most of the board.
Yeah, a lot of people are poor, and that's because the duplicator, like a lot of people in this spot might end up... Oh, maybe a little bit of pause here. But like lower eco scenarios are just really more common in this set in particular because you get anvils or you get eggs instead of the actual thing. But in this case, we had duplicators and we had people like fighting for inconsistent streak. Only one person was able to win streak fully on Bintum, and then Demon was like lose streak, and those players are the rich players, obviously.
Well, Dan, I have a maybe weird question for you. Of course, 9 is in the middle of the leaderboard, looking at that Ash 3. If he sees a glove on Carousel, is it even worth going for it? Is that a Thieves' Glove Ash 3 enough tempo to justify losing that item economy?
I think it kind of depends on the rest of his items. The thing about Thieves' Gloves and Emblems is that, yes, they're really good if you're able to get the ideal scenario, but if you have like a mid-case scenario, you actively lose the ability to go for a lot of best-in-slot items. So let's say you get that Thieves' Gloves, but then that's like the only glove you ever get, and for whatever reason you need like a Last Whisper or something else. That means that you just have less access to gloves. So you have to be really careful about things like Thieves' Gloves and things like taking spatulas off of Carousel. Just be very mindful that you're going to be dipping directly into your item economy.
Yeah, and of course, we've mentioned before in previous games, how much of a difference it can be to have, say, the Jewel gone on your Mordekaiser, maybe Quicksilver on your Warwick if he's going to be diving into the midst of all of that CC. So I mean, making the early versus late game choices. I mean, this is what defines a game for these players.
Yeah, and so another thing that's also interesting is because he sacrificed not making golden hold in the unit, you mentioned that it felt like he was a lot poorer than usual. Because I actually scanned the rest of the lobby and thought, it's not like we're like super low eco. I do think that a lot of it has to do with how much he's holding onto his bench, so we'll see. And the itemization is interesting, to say the least. I'm curious to see what Nine chooses to make from here, because I could see a couple of things being made, whether he wants to make Ionic Spark to make the laser core hit that much harder. Does he want to just go for straight up attack damage items? He's actually rolling right now to see if he can hit Ash 3 naturally without using the duplicator.
Oh boy, this seems like such a risk. I mean, you've got the guaranteed right now, and of course later on we're looking towards a much higher cost unit, so you're not as worrying as much about getting anything else out of your duplicator.
I get it, though. I get it. He might actually even go for a Bloodthirster here, because that's a really good Warwick item. I think that because he's holding a Lee Sin pair, a Renekton pair, a Blitzcrank pair, and an Ash pair, it's like, there's no way I miss if I roll a little bit. Unfortunately, he did miss.
All right, we'll see what Kerfuzzle is up to. We've mentioned before, the Hexate Retribution, a major force in this lobby. A really fascinating board from the Brit, who are making use of both the Lulu and the Vayne on the backline.
Not going to be enough, though, as we see that Spirit of the Exile doing a lot here for Nine's board. But I'm sitting here, and we're going to wait for the Augment, which perhaps Nine is as well. But what else are you going to use that duplicator on, man? Stop rolling. Just slam it on the Ash. Let's see it.
We'll see. Oh, Thrill the Hunt's very good for Laser Core. Instant pick. Levels to 6. If you want to go for the Ash odds with Renekton, you roll at 5 before going to 6, but maybe he doesn't want to roll at all.
Just having a quick check and seeing if we can spot any hearts or anything spicy coming through. I think towards the top left, Setsuko does manage to pick up something a little bit more interesting. As yes, the Ash 3 comes in, perhaps a little too late to make a major impact.
Oh, Setsuko's going for a Defender Heart. It's not often something you end up picking, but it could be a nod to how much AD is in the lobby. People forget that 6 Defender, if you go 4 or 6 Defender, it can be a pretty solid mid-game if there's a lot of AD in the lobby, or alternatively, an opportunity for him to drop a unit and squeeze in that 4 Star Guardian quick draw, which is often what you have to wrestle with at level 6 unless you have that +1. So a nice catch there by Setsuko.
Already 2 Rel 2s as well with that Rel, or rather with someone still in the orb. Is it Rel with Defender Heart as well?
It should be Rel, and he does have a duplicate, so he's actually 1 Rel off. It's probably why he ended up rolling, because Setsuko is lower gold. Setsuko is not a person that tries to roll before level 8, but when he's playing a reroll composition, he understands what he needs to do. He does end up losing his streak, which is unfortunate, but that's okay, because Setsuko's very close to hitting that Rel 3, which we've seen one more time. Where's Bebe? Kaisa and Rel, my top 4.
Yeah, we were waiting for that to come online and really show us exactly what we're in the store for as we check in with D-Man, who has been putting through the underground for quite some time and is keeping going with it. We haven't got fully itemized as of yet, but that vie with the Titans is going to be a tough nut to crack.
It's actually interesting to see a Titans with Unrelenting Force because, like, yeah, it's the obvious synergy because Unrelenting Force is basically an additional Titans, but ever since the later stages of the set, people have been preferring much more heavily defensive itemization on her.
Yeah, you would think so, but it actually works the opposite way a lot in this scenario, like you were saying, Matt, because having a Titans means the second Titans is less efficient, right? You'd rather just go for other stats like straight up health, like people play Warmogs or Redemption to heal you, and then you get resistances. So that way you kind of outfit the rest of Titans to be really defensive. Some people even put Bloodthirster, right, to give her that shield off that HP scaling. So Titans is a little bit inefficient, but hey, those are the items you have. Sometimes you just gotta slam and keep your tempo up, because with Underground, preserving that HP is key. So probably not ideal, but maybe that player even knows it as well.
I mean, tempo, HP, Binsum has got both of those in spades, having been completely undefeated in 3.5 rounds. Maybe Jinx carry.
Duplicator, you gotta be kidding me, man.
And one of them is on a Jinx.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to see at the very least a Rel 3 coming out at the end of this round.
Yeah, Setsuko has this Rel 3 right now, and then like other player who needs that Jinx, for example, you mentioned. No one's taking the Jhin, by the way, so anybody that wants that Jhin just gets it. Vidigo, who we talked about wanted to go for Rift Walkers, just gets it. Nice.
Nine sitting on an empty glove there. We may be seeing that Thieves gloves you hinted at earlier on, Frodan.
Yeah, we'll see.
Other options, of course, but
it depends. In the meantime, we're checking out VCLF 3 3 duplicators. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the third lesser duplicator because that would be a 2-star duplicator.
I feel like the count from Sesame Street at this point is like 1, 2, 3 duplicators.
And along with those duplicators, the itemization you wanted to see from the Unrelenting Vi. Again, remember, this is a contested frontline and lobby, so the items even more important now that 3-starring her is going to be that much trickier.
He does have Deathblade and Last Whisper Slam, and Plan doesn't want to play around Ezreal. This doesn't seem to me like he's going to actually commit to a 3-star vibe, but we'll see, because he's playing right now around Ashe 2, which is not actually that strong. Also, his Vine's getting completely blown up by that big Get Excited burst.
Yeah, tons of damage coming out from that Jinx, as well as these stuns are going to be preventing Vi from using her ultimate very frequently. So this should be a pretty strong wipe here for Bintum's board.
Yeah, the fame has been building up. Of course, for Anima Squad, you're benefiting every single time you kill a unit. Bintum has been killing quite a few units in a completely undefeated streak.
This is how you capitalize on the Anima Squad. Get that ball rolling. And Bintum's on lower gold, but that's okay. He's also chasing for Vayne 3, by the way. That Infinity Edge on Vayne, creating that true damage is no joke.
Well, having all those lesser duplicators, I was asking earlier, what else are you going to save those duplicators for? Turns out if you want both Jinx and Vayne, just pick one.
Yeah, or just natural them all. So that's kind of what's been happening. And as you can see, the lobby HP once again is quite skewed. Demon all the way at the bottom at 38, while Bintum still undefeated. The only, I mean, he hit another Vayne, by the way. The only caveat to this is it doesn't seem like he's collecting nearly as many Jinxes as some of the other 2-cost rerollers.
I've been told by our observers that Demon is very close to cashing out with a decent-sized underground streak from the bottom, so we'll be fighting back up the table, but so far, nobody has been able to take down this board. For Bintum, actually building up a pretty substantial cash reserve alongside a ludicrously strong board.
Can we get a Fame stack count? Usually around here, you're really happy if you're in like the 40s, but it wouldn't surprise me if Bintum's at like 50s or maybe even hitting 60, which would be outrageously good if he's able to get that. It kind of depends on how many units his opponents are playing. He's at a 100 streak. But so far, so good for Bintum. That's going to be a really good spot. In the meantime, on the opposite end, what's happening with Demon?
Already here at this underground cash out, perfect amount to get it going into Wolves.
40 gold. I mean, he's got to take it, so maybe that helps him hit, but he's contested. Remember, a lot of his units are pulled out.
And maybe just looking to abandon ship on that idea and move forward, but he's actually picking up more undergrounds as well. Apparently, Demon's going to ride the reroll train.
Yeah, and he does have the 2 duplicators, so he's very close to Vi 3.
Just sitting with his 90 gold, not going to continue the roll down.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised why he's not rolling more. He probably just want to see the orb drops first because you need to keep 3 bench spaces free so you can have exactly the 3 2 costs.
All right, Demon, you've got to make the most of this. You are behind the rest of the lobby. The roll down is starting. The bench is pretty full up. We are finding some units. Of course, supers as well will be important to complete the board.
Oh, he's already stuck in one hard decision. Gotta start selling some of these units. Sold a Gangplank too. He's not going for GP3. That's tough.
Oh boy.
Just keep rolling down though. We'll find the second.
That's too slow.
He's so far behind.
Where's the Korean APM?
Pulse, where are you?
We have 45 gold. That's why you gotta roll during the PB round a little bit more aggressively. I understand you want to make methodical, fast decisions, but that wasn't nearly as fast enough.
No, Underground is at least out of the mix now, so D-Man will start to put together the board that has been feared by so many. Bintum, of course, still undefeated, but this time, maybe it comes to a close. Down goes the Jinx, and D-Man from the Underground strikes down Bintum.
And that's big, stopping that gold flowing freely from Bintum. Bintum does have Vayne 3 technically, but he's keeping his options open. Let's see what happens at 4-2.
It's just going to be gold augments coming out and plenty of options for all of our players. Bintum just immediately slammed that Jeweled Lotus. Great for that Anima Squad comp.
Jeweled Lotus is so good. Anima Squad gives you so much base attack damage and ability power. You get that ability to crit.
Well, and TG on Vayne as well, so you've got an incredible amount of crit chance.
That's a great call out.
All right, let's have a quick look through, see if any other ones leap out at us. So of course, Suko up in the top left-hand corner, picking up a little bit more beef for the comp. But let's spend a little bit more quality time with Bintum, who is, of course, still not at full power.
Yeah, so the question would be for Bintum if does he want to roll? He's trying to eco back up because he recognizes that he's still in a really good spot. Now that the streak is over, don't spend your gold to try and get your win streak again when you just lost that momentum. So he's going to trade a little bit of HP, get that gold piling up, and hit that spike while having gold to level. Don't always think about your plan after you hit. If you hit and you have 0 gold, then you're going to be so far away from leveling. You want to make sure that you can be able to do both.
We've come across an interesting situation here between Vidigal and Nine. We've discovered they're both running the laser core, or at least some portion of it. See Warwick on one side, Ash on the other. But it looks like Vidigal's going to have the best of this particular encounter.
Oh, so Vidigal's pivoting, actually. He had a Jhin pair. He was ready to go, and now he went into Warwick 2 with scope weapons. Not something I was particularly anticipating, but I think that spot is pretty good. And I think a lot of people really underestimate just going into standard brawler Warwick with admins. Let's see what he gets as VCLF is going to cash out with a tome. Is this going to be exactly what he looks for? But if he pops a tome right now, there's so many undergrounds in the pool, he might not get the emblem he's looking for.
He has so many options regardless. Like, no matter where this goes, he's still got 3 duplicators, 2 lesser and 1 regular. Plus, he's got that Aesol to itemize, so he has so many angles available to him.
But what does he even really want? I feel like it's like an Aegis emblem. I'm not entirely sure what he's looking for. Maybe Sure Shot +1 could be useful too. As we take a look at Demon, he is online and cooking. That is 3-star Vi, that is 3-star Ezreal.
Yeah, they should be pretty damn strong. Vi isn't fully itemized as of yet, so she will be getting chunked down. As Matt pointed out from before, the Titan's not best at delaying the big burst coming in, so she will drop. There's no healing, apart from the Celestial Blessing for the Ezreal to stay alive. He's going to be taking all the pressure. As soon as he gets stunned, he will fall, and D-Man takes a big loss, pushing him down towards 8th.
I was kind of surprised that Demon didn't choose Second Wind. Second Wind's really good in the composition that benefits from Unrelenting Force being a lot of HP. We talked about how HP really works with a lot of the resistances you build up. So I think Demon with Celestial Blessing kind of recognizing that he didn't have healing on his Ezreal.
Oh, that's a gamble.
He picked the ultimate Ezreal though, and he has a Dragon's Claw for the Vi, so maybe that's a way for him to climb back in this game.
Yeah, we've seen how powerful this ultimate Ezreal can be. That parallel Ezreal carry is going to do a ton of damage, but crucially on the second cast. That first cast does not get duplicated for the regular old 2-cost Ezreal, so that first ultimate isn't going to wipe out any units.
Which goes kind of into the Second Wind camp. It stalls you long enough so you can get that second cast pretty consistently, at least when it matters. Another thing to factor in is maybe he gets the second cast, but is the fight already determined by then?
Well, for Bintum, if we check back in with him, we can see that very, very close. Could, in fact, get the Jinx 3 right now, but it's jealously hoarding those duplicators because there's going to be a lot more 3-stars before we're done.
He's also chasing Fiora 3, by the way.
Oh,
oh, here we go.
That's why.
That was close.
And now we can hold for the Riven 3. Bintum's in a spot where not only is he going to capitalize on one of the more unusual rerolls, but he might even win this game.
Archangels is there. Matt, tell us in not so many words, why do you love this comp so damn much?
Exactly what you're seeing on the screen. Your enemy's board is completely negated every time Jinx casts unless they have a Quicksilver. That stun does so much in an AoE and a ton of damage. So even if your Jinx isn't 3-star or isn't doing all of your damage, you have plenty of time for that Vayne to start firing away alongside the Misfortune to wipe enemy boards.
Even though we're talking a lot about Bintum and watching a lot of his gameplay, oh my god, another Riven. He could go for Riven if he wanted to right now. There are 2 players streaking though, Kerfuzzle and Setsuko. Setsuko with that Rel 3, super stable, and I imagine we're not showing too much Setsuko because he pretty much is locked in terms of the tournament, but a lot of other players are trying to fight for that spot. And then Kerfuzzle, I wonder what's going on. It's funny that the top and the bottom seed in this lobby are also crushing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Kerfuzzle came into this one again as the lowest points player, pretty much is done here in the competition in terms of the chance of them making the top 8. But still, such a new player, such a huge upgrades coming in. We'll see how it does. D-Man does against VLCF though, because there's only 1 more life left in the tank, and D-Man has no gold remaining.
If Demon can survive, he can get that parallel in next PvP round. So this is make or break for him as that Ezreal starts doing damage. The D-Claw on this Vi, putting in so much work, keeping her alive, even without all the healing we normally have from Gunblade. 1 more assassination from the Ezreal, but doesn't hit the Samira. Needs another ultimate, but it's not there. Demon takes an 8th.
He had the ability to play
He's giggling.
for that ultimate Ezreal, but it just didn't really work out for Demon. I think it was a combination of like not really hitting like in the moment he needed, but also his itemization ran into issues.
Yeah.
I think his augment selection was also a little bit questionable in certain spots. So definitely an untimely 8th here for Demon.
Well, I mean, we can look at now the economy as we get ready for stage number 5. Setsuko, of course, doing magnificently up the top with 53 gold and a 6-win streak. 9 has got a streak of his own, but Video fighting out from now 7th place has a ton of money in the bank to better his spot.
This is, of course, one of our top points leaders here for Brazil, keeping them in the top 8. So Vidigal, a success here would mean highly likely making it to day 3, and Brazil having a representative back in the final day of the World Championship for the first time in several sets.
Yeah, but right now it's not going so good. I thought he was playing the 4 Brawler, 4 Admin version, but he's not. He's actually just playing 2 Brawler, 2 Admin, which is not actually making Warwick particularly strong. Plus, he doesn't have things like Big Data to support Warwick augments and make it really good. And his admin is healing based, so it could be one of those things where Vidigal may have stayed on Warwick a little bit too long. Does he go up against Bintum? That's Kerfuzzle on the other side.
Yeah, not a good time to be going up against the board that has just spiked even further. At least the duplicators have been cashed out now, so Bintum won't be having any more shenanigans. But now we've got the Misfortune in the mix as well. 2 massive AP carries, and Kerfuzzle could do nothing but get swept away in a tide of AP.
Vayne's critting for 493 true damage with
no
a Warbox and a ZZ Rod. Like, what? That dual Lotus on the Anima squad is insane.
I mean, that's what you can do when you're 3-star. You just don't care, do you? You've got all the Anima Squad 7 goodness coming into your veins. Everyone can be a carry.
Vidigal won, by the way. Again, he's fighting for points to stay in that top 8 contention. He hit Acel 2, 9 out in 7th. If Dr. O goes out in 6th, Vidigal has an opportunity once more to make a comeback for Brazil and fight for that top finish.
Look at what's going on Dr. O's board, though. We've got the Pandora's bench. We're ticking through here, looking for a Jhin 3, perhaps.
He needs many rounds, though. This looks really far away from getting it done for a 3-star unit. A side swap. He's almost playing binary airdrop, except he doesn't have the prismatic. Is this good enough to survive against the onslaught of the Anima squad?
Bintum coming out once more with that Jinx. The AoE stuns just completely locking up Dr. O's board. The backline still safe for the time being. Misfortune's ultimate gets blocked. Jhin fires away once more, but for the last time as Bintum takes out his fellow Korean representative.
We started with 3 Korean players, now down to 1. Said be the Dark Flame. Vidigal down to a single unit. One more strike!
Oh!
Vidigal stays alive for Brazil.
There you go. Setsuko proving himself ally of Brazil. Because it looked like he was, if that Acel didn't get it done, that was going to be the game here for Vidigal.
I do have to wonder at some point if this was intended to be a Belveth board coming in for Vidigal, but we can even see in the shop, not even going to be bought at this point. We've just gone too far.
Well, he can buy at the end of the fight. Right now, he's probably just more worried if he can do better than 5th. At this point, I think Vidigal might be feeling like, okay, 5th was the best I was going to do anyways from this spot. Maybe this is where I end up parking it.
No gold.
Oh, yeah, 5th might be the best we do this game. We're going up against Bintum one more time, and he gets shrouded on the Aurelion Soul, which may actually not be that big of a deal because he has the Archangels.
At least that's a late round guarantee, but Bintum just keeps on getting stronger. Does lose the magic resist shred, and finally the Warwick's actually managed to punch through. Does have to deal with the Prankster, the nice stun, and it means Vidigal will stay alive.
You know, I really underestimate the Hextech Retribution damage amplification. I keep thinking, man, this is a 1-item Acel, but when so many units die and Acel gets those Archangels ramping with that bonus damage, it's actually a lot. Maybe Vidigal can find something else, like Giant Slayer, perhaps? Maybe just straight up AP? Like, at this point, we gotta think about how we can make this Acel hit that much harder, because that is the star of the show.
I mean, it's certainly tough to punch up there with VCLF on a win streak in currently 4th place. Kerfuzzle, Setsuko, and Bintum, all the good amount of HP in the bank. It's only going to take one bad loss to send Vidigal out and make our top 4 secure.
It's worth noting as well, Bintum has been a force of nature with this composition for so long, but it's going to start slowing down. The biggest weakness Jinx reroll has is once she gets stunned, there's not a whole lot left for your board. You're relying on her AoE damage, you're relying on her AoE CC, and now boards are getting to the point where they can contest her.
Setsuko also hitting a bunch of 2-star units, by the way. Does he have Kaisa 3? Looks like it's just another Kaisa 2. Wonder if he's remaking that as we take a look.
Okay. We're getting pretty
AP
close here.
is good for Nico. A lot of people, again, I've been saying this a lot. People over tunnel on Misfortune as a quick draw carry alongside Kaisa. Nico is the priority right now in that composition.
No, we haven't been seeing the Ox Slingers taking away any of those to make that a less appealing prospect. VCLF, again, fighting, will be trying to take down Vidigal. We've got the big scaling, a double Archangels on the Aurelion Soul. Drops down the heavens and puts down VCLF. Vidigal now on a 4-round win streak.
Look out above. I'm pretty sure Vidigal may have turned the corner and is one of the candidates looking to not just go top 4, but potentially jump into the top 3. Stronger than VCLS, stronger than Kerfuzzle. The only thing is HP count, so whether or not he takes a really bad loss or narrowly loses twice to some of the top 2 boards is going to be a difference maker between getting that top 3. And at 45 points, that is so close. 60 points is what we're talking about to get that threshold. If he can get that 6, maybe even 7 points, that'd be huge for his chances for day 3.
At least we'll be able to dodge Benton for this round, but we're going up against the Riftwalker board. This is going to be a tough fight.
Now take a look at that Jin. That's going to be the decider here for that Renegade board as the Aurelion Soul gets free backline access to match. ASO looking for that second cast. Jin still uncontested, but firing away at the ASO as well. The healing from Thrill is absolutely massive for Vidigal.
Whoa.
And the Aurelion Soul still alive. Ticks up to 160 AP, but it's not enough.
Hextech Retribution versus Hextech Retribution. It came down to whose carry could get the fire off first. And I think it came down to that Pyke timing. The Pyke stunned the Aurelion Soul, kind of stalled the fight a little bit longer. And as a result, Vidigal's ASO was just that half beat too late in order to get that second cast.
And we're left in a situation where VCLF and Vidigal are both on definitively a single life. Well, Bintum still reigns up at the top and Setsuko is barely behind.
I mean, we talked about that narrow loss, right? Like, if he takes a couple of narrow losses, it's really an HP. Vidigal's board is not 5th place worthy, in my opinion. I think it's definitely strong enough to at least get top 4 minimum, but he might not have the HP to do that.
Now, VCLF's board, we haven't seen a whole lot of him in a while, but running this Infinity board with that itemized Ezreal, now leveling to 9.
Oh, Ezreal 2 would be a massive swing here. Acel 2 as well, so we're going to have 3, maybe 4 Qs if you hit this Ezreal 2 and it summons another 2-star legendary.
One last item coming in could be another further boost for the Ezreal. Has been very strong. We've got such a good suite of backline carries here. The front line is pretty solid as well.
Double Giant Slayer, probably going to itemize the Ezreal at this point. Going up against Setsuko as that Rel 3, but he can't protect his backline if Ezreal wipes it.
Ezreal looking for that first cast alongside the Aurelion Soul on the right side of your screen. Kaisa uncontested. Neither of the AoEs take her down or even do any damage to her on the left side of your screen. Vidigal in trouble here. One more ultimate needs to come out as VCLF's board will survive against Setsuko, but Vidigal will fall.
Kerfuzzled with the Renegades, wreaking his vengeance and making sure he stays in the top 4. Currently on a win streak again, outside of bounds for making it through to day 3. To get on stream and potentially take it first would be a huge redemption for him.
We're going for Nico 3, by the way. We have 7 Nikos, 8 Neelas, 8 Kaisas.
If it's a pink unit, Setsuko is buying it.
And we got a triple gator. There we go. It's time to get neeked.
Wait, this is really clever. I even miscounted and I had 10 seconds to look at it because he was rearranging his bench to make his opponents obscured on whether or not to see how many units. Oh no, but in the midst of that, he got his frontline Zephyr.
That's horrible for his start, but Nico uncontested still finally will get stunned up. That Rel still above half health, surviving so well with the Gunblade, with the redemption. Woo! Nico 3 explodes Kerfuzzled's board.
Oh my god, all of a sudden, I thought Binson was gonna run away with this game. How on earth are we going to deal with Nico 3?
Well, apparently we do need to recalibrate our Star Guardian senses. Frodan proven correct here again. This board has been absolutely shockingly strong.
Yeah, you know, forget Kaiser reroll. It's Nico reroll. Setsuko looks like he is not satisfied with being virtually guaranteed in. He wants more. He says, I want to end day 2 in first place and commandingly go back-to-back in the standings in the first 2 days of the Monsters Attack Championship.
He can even get stronger as well. Kaiser is almost up to 3-star.
Right, stop getting Zephyr.
We've got Neela almost up to 3-star as well. Bintum is looking down the face of a board that is very hard to handle.
Oh, God,
And Gunblade doing so much, Frodan, putting out the work, keeping that Rel alive, holding the line as best she can. One more ultimate needs to come out from the Nico. But the slide!
Oh! You know, Nico,
boy.
people talk about how her frog ends up trolling a lot of times, but it ends up hitting the prankster and Jinx ejecting and the frog following for the follow-up damage. Really, really fun interaction.
Anima
there.
Squad crest available if Bintum wants it. We'll pick that up.
I think that's a slight mistake here from Setsuko, because I think if you denied that, he probably thought that Bintum wanted to go for something else, but Setsuko's in a spot where he doesn't need an extra item. He needs to actually deny what his opponent wants to do.
And of course, Kerfuzzle being taken out there. The lobby has had the gas stepped on exceptionally strongly, but still making top 3. It's going to be some form of satisfaction because both of our remaining players are absolutely transcendent.
So Setsuko needs to dodge that Zephyr again. We talked about how he's been rolling so much and re-itemizing that he actually hasn't protected his Rel from that Zephyr. I wonder where he's going to move it. A quick 50-50 swap. Let's see if that's good enough. Where's the Zephyr end up going?
Directly onto the
It
Rel.
got the Rel!
Finding the Rel once more as that Nico will fire away. Soon the Ribbon is going to be threatening her here in this backline. Ribbon doing so much damage with every swipe of her sword. Now Rel back to being that frontliner this Nico needs. And Nico just firing away. Takes out the entire backline. A single frog eliminates Bintum's board. The Vayne doing her best. And the Ribbon as well will survive for a little bit longer. But Bintum takes one more loss.
Bintum still getting stronger, right? Every single fight, stacking that Anima Squad, but I'm out of ideas on how to make Bintum stronger outside of just straight up going to 9. If you roll and hit Alistar 2, is that really something we're writing home about?
Well, I feel like the big thing for Bintum was trying to get the positioning right in that previous round. You had the Jinx up towards the front line, still got Zephyr anyway. There's so much damage locked up in the Jinx, and we don't have a 3-item MF as of yet.
So is it the opposite then? Not trying to go for the Rel, but instead try to Zephyr Nico?
It's got to be worth a try.
Oh, he's dodging it though. Setsuko's moving bold. Look at that APM!
Setsuko, mechanical god.
He dodged it!
Dodges that. Zephyr, Nico uncontested, and now Rel for the first time let loose at the start of the fight. That Fiddlesticks pumping out so much CC. Jinx in the backline targeting the wrong carry, but she will find one more stun into the front line, into the Rel, but Jinx gets eliminated. Nico needs one more ultimate, and Bintum takes one more loss.
How do you factor that into your plans, though? Say, oh, it's fine, this board can cap out high enough. I don't need to worry about anything ridiculous like a Nico 3.
Setsuko says, Bintum, you're good, but I'm better. I know exactly what you're thinking about because the mix-up between Zephyring frontline and backline is the entire mind game with this item. Recognize that Bintum is a sharp enough observer to recognize that maybe Nico is dealing a little bit too much damage and you can focus fire the Rel down, eliminate that frontline early, and then try to go for that. So that mix-up was seen beforehand. What a read by Setsuko.
Bintum eyeing level 9, though. He's got 52 gold, going to gain 6 more at the very least from this PvE round, so could potentially be pushing for that 7 Anima Squad to bump up his numbers even a little bit more.
Gonna have one more item come in, maybe to throw onto the Misfortune. It will be a little bit of extra safety with the Bloodthirster. Setsuko has already pretty much hit everything he could want for, so why not throw in a 3-star as you hit yet another 3-star?
And Bintum leveled to 9 to play Silas. Is that 7 Anima Squad? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so maybe that jump is going to be enough. He had the option of making legendaries instead. He had an Urgot and a Fiddlesticks, and I wonder if that's going to be the key. He's now selling some of these units. He has a free Zephyr and a free Shout. Can he anticipate where Setsuko's going to go? A swap to the other side.
Will it land? It will not. So we've still got all the carries alive from both sides of the board. Nico will be shrouded, which will buy a few more precious seconds for the Anima squad to build up. The misfortune has the Archangels in the corner. The longer she stays alive, the more damage she can do. The frogs are raining in from every corner of the globe. You cannot stand in the way of the biggest, hairiest frog of all. Setsuko takes the win.
What else do you want?